We're talking about the book from Hal Elrod, called The Miracle Morning. Hal Elrod is the author of the book A Miracle Morning. He's an inspiring guy. At the age of 20 years old, he was hit by a drunk driver at 70 miles per hour. He was found dead, and after 6 minutes of that near death experience, he had broken 11 bones and had permanent brain damage. Doctors didn't feel that Hal would ever walk again. But not only did he walk, he bounced back and became a 52-mile ultra marathon runner. He's in the Hall of Fame of Business Achievers, international keynote speaker. He's a success coach, hip hop recording artist, and a multiple time #1 best-selling author. Hal has defied the odds and proved we are all capable of overcoming obstacles while creating the life of our dreams. And that's what we're talking about today. Years later, Hal had found himself kind of in a funk, in a place where things weren't going as well as he wanted them to. And that's where he found the inspiration to write the book, Miracle Morning. And this book is fantastic. I've read it 3 or 4 times. I've actually talked about it on this show once before with a special guest who loves it and talks about it often. And I just did a workshop this past weekend with my health and wellness group. I have a Be Well workshop every Saturday morning. Have been doing it for about 4 years. And I was trying to figure out what we should talk about. And this week I wanted to talk about our morning routines, because our morning routines really set the tone for the day, the week, the month, and oftentimes it sets the tone for our life. It really does. So, what is your morning routine? Do you have a morning routine? And is it a routine that lifts you up? Or is it a routine that doesn't really support where you want to go each and every day? So I introduced this a little bit with where Hal was coming from with this book. It's a fantastic book. And if you've ever been looking to jumpstart your life or just take it to the next level, there's no better place to start than dialing into your morning routine. And Hal is really has created the perfect guide to help us discover those not so obvious secrets to be able to rock it before 8 a.m. He's the architect of the miracle morning, whether that's a 6-minute plan or a 60-minute plan. Your morning can be whatever you need it to look like. So, how are you taking your life head on with your morning? I believe that it's crucial for us to actually embrace the perspective that anything another person has overcome or accomplished is simply evidence that we too can overcome it. It's possible. We've all had challenges. We've all had struggles. I know that there are people who are watching this who are probably going through a struggle right now and trying to find that courage to get through it. And some of that comes from the habits that we create and the morning that we show up and set for ourselves. I will admit, my mornings have been a struggle since my mom has passed. It all begins with accepting total responsibility for every aspect of your life, not trying to blame other people or put it off on somebody else or circumstances. It's refusing to blame other people. The degree to which we accept responsibility for everything in our life is precisely the degree of personal power, as Tony Robbins puts it, the personal power that you have to change or create anything in your life. We are manifestors. We can draw to us based on our energy anything that we want. So where do we start? I guess that would be with step one. We need to take complete responsibility. I mentioned it already. Challenging, weird, unexpected things happen, like getting hit by a drunk driver head on at 70 miles an hour, or your parents passing, or surprise, I don't want to be married to you anymore. And you find yourself divorced after a long marriage. We can't count on things to go our way. It's just part of the deal, how life unfolds sometimes. And remember, things are working out things are working for us, not happening to us. Things are happening for us, not happening to us. I say it often. It's a biblical principle. I repeat it to myself regularly. It's one of the affirmations that I use, that things are working for me, not to me, and all things are working for my good, and all is well with my soul. So we get to choose how we want to respond to challenges. And as Hal tells us, it all starts with taking absolute responsibility for how we respond to life, period, whatever comes our way. And I just love the way that he describes the fact that anything another person has overcome or accomplished is evidence that we can overcome and or accomplish those same things. Marcus Aurelius echoes this wisdom when he says, because a thing is difficult for you, do not therefore suppose it's beyond mortal power. I have no idea. That's just a quote that came from that book. And I think it's kind of fascinating. Anything is possible. And especially if we have evidence that somebody else was able to achieve it. When somebody ran the 4-minute mile, many people followed being able to run that 4-minute mile. And the same is true in life. When other people can overcome disease and hardship and divorce and loss, we know that we're capable of doing it too. Joseph Campbell is another author who echoes the power of taking our challenges head on. He tells us that there's an important idea that we need to love our fate, which is in fact our life. When we love our fate, whatever that looks like, we begin to love our life. We can embrace the gratitude that we have for our life, being able to live it. It is a gift, no matter what that gift looks like, if it's easy or if it's hard, being grateful and find gratitude in our day-to-day challenges, our day-to-day struggles, our day-to-day joys and happy things that are happening for us. When we can find gratitude, we're able to embrace that life and really begin to enjoy it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We get to see the whole thing unravel. The more furthermore, the other thing that Joseph Campbell says is the more challenging or threatening the situation or context to be assimilated or affirmed, the more challenging life is, the greater the stature of the person who can achieve it. It takes a pretty strong individual to go through some things in life. Another way to say that is God never gives us more than we can handle. So let's handle it. Let's face it head on. Love our fate and swallow our pride, move forward, ask for help, and find a way to actually rewrite our story. So what does that look like? Writing a good story. We get to decide what our story looks like. We are the authors of it. In a perspective, God has a plan for our life, but I think that we can contribute to that. What do we want it to look like? How do we want to show up? Do we want to pray never ceasingly? Do we want to be grateful and live in a state of gratitude, or do we want to be angry and resentful and not? And many of us are given reasons to go down that second path, but there might be a better way. There might be a better day if we rewrite our mornings. And what could that look like? Know that wherever you are in your life right now, it's both temporary and exactly where you're supposed to be. You've arrived at this moment to learn what you must learn so you can become the person you need to be to create what you truly want in your life. This is a learning moment. This is an experience for you to become a better person, whatever is happening right now, even when life is difficult and challenging. Actually, especially when life is difficult and challenging. The present is always an opportunity for us to learn, grow, and become better than we've ever been before. You're in the process of writing your own life story, and no good story is without a hero or a heroine overcoming their fair share of challenges. In fact, the bigger the challenge, the better the story. I used to have a keynote speech. I still have a keynote speech called "Who Are You, the Superhero?" Like You are a superhero. Every superhero has an origin story. Each of us has an origin story, a place that we come from, and we can come out of that or that origin story as a hero, like superheroes do, or we can come out of that origin story as less than a hero, as somebody who struggles, who doesn't find joy in life, maybe, chooses to go down a criminal path. Every one of us has an origin story. And I love to look to heroes and heroines, um, to their origin story because they overcome. And that's what I'm talking about here. What we're talking about, looking at Hal's story of how he overcame. And a big part of that overcoming is how he set the tone for his day each and every day. Since there's no restrictions and no limits to where your story goes from here, what do you want the next page to say? Where do you want to go with it? Have you watched a good movie lately? Did you like the challenges that you saw in that movie? What role of the characters did you play in that movie? Were you the hero? Were you the villain? We have that power within us to start writing down, to journal about it, and actually decide where we want to go in telling our own story. And many of those pieces come together with the habits that we create out of our morning routine. So, why are mornings so important? Important. How do you wake up in the morning? Do you wake up and say, "Good God, it's morning," or "Good morning, God"? Does the devil say, "Oh, she like when her feet hit the floor"? There's so many sayings about mornings, but what is the saying in your world? What is the saying when you get out of bed? Are you focused and productive and successful in the morning? Do you generate activities that set the tone for the day that are going to cause you to be successful? It's inevitable that you create the day that you have by how you start the morning. Some of us get up and have a great big glass of water, maybe go for a walk, get our 30 minutes or 40 minutes of exercise in. Somebody might be doing some yoga. Others might be unproductive and have mediocre mornings, and they end up having a mediocre day because of it. When we start with intention and we start with focus and we start with determination, with a mindset of, you know what, I want today to be the best day ever. And that was my goal with my mom, my dad passed in September of last year. My mom passed in June of this year. And every day from September to June was to make the best day ever, whatever that could be. Obviously her health was failing. She was having lung cancer. Both my folks had some pretty good health challenges. The last 3 and 4 years were difficult for them. And every morning, my intention was to give them the best day ever, the best day that they were capable of in the body that they were in the area, the location that we were in, the place that we were in. We don't have to be a product of our circumstances. We can choose. We get to choose how we want to see the day. And if we want to see the day as hard and tough and a struggle, or we want to tell stories and laugh and reminisce and, eat ice cream for breakfast, we get to choose. How do you want your day to go? And what do you want to do in the morning to set the tone for that? The miracle morning. Always remember that when you are committed to a life of purpose that is bigger than your problems become relatively insignificant and you can overcome them with ease. That is a quote from Hal Elrod from the Miracle Morning book. Um, how do we want to just ignore those problems? I'm not saying that and maybe ignore is not the right word, but how do we want to make them less significant in our life? You may have to go to the doctor appointments, but you go, and then afterwards you do something that brings pleasure to you. You may have to, do some medicine, or you may have to do some therapies that are difficult and tough to get through, but we can do those and say, okay, that's done. That happened. Now what? Right? We get to choose the next step. And how can we make every day a great day by choosing those next steps wisely? A great week, a great month, a great year, a great life comes from setting the tone for ourselves to make it great, to getting our mindset in that place of choosing to start with a great morning. And that great morning will lead to a great rest of the day versus a mediocre day at best. It might be that simple. I'm not promising it, but what if it was? What if it was just a 180-degree shift from what you're currently doing to what you could be doing to make life truly extraordinary by changing a few of your habits? And we're going to take our cues today from what Hal has put together. Mornings are where the magic begins. And he created something called S.A.V.E.R.S. And S.A.V.E.R.S stands for these 6 simple daily practices. You know, I have FAVOR, which is faith, abundance, vitality, overflow, and relationships. That's one acronym I love. For me, for my life, like everything in my business revolves around those 6 aspects. And Hal uses the acronym S.A.V.E.R.S, and it stands for silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. Scribing might be a confusing one, but it wouldn't have sounded as great saying Savor J, right? Savor J. S.A.V.E.R.S. Scribing is just journaling. So we will get into each of these. I want to dive in to each of them and what he kind of means by them. Silence. If you want to immediately reduce your stress levels, reduce the noise in your life. Don't you agree? I mean, dedicate some time to silence, beginning each morning with a calm, clarity, maybe peace of mind. For me, oftentimes it's sitting outside in the sun, having my cup of coffee, just contemplating, what do I have today? What do I want to do today? What am I grateful for today? You know, we're dancing on the edge of enlightenment when we have that time in the morning to just contemplate. The life enhancing benefits of silence have been well documented throughout the ages, from the power of prayer to the magic of meditation. Some of the greatest minds in history have used silence purposefully to expand their mind, expand their thoughts, transcend their limitations, and actually create extraordinary results in their life. I think he said silence is the secret sauce to start your day. How you're going to connect to that power that's bigger than you and start to build on habits of writing down your goals. You know, the scribing part's going to come in here, writing down your goals, writing down affirmations, reading them over and over, repeating them to yourself, focusing your mind on that, not on, you know, how am I going to pay the bills, or where's the next paycheck coming from, or what are the results of the blood test, or what's in the mail today, what bills do I have due right now to do right now. You know, we need to slow down just for a minute, spend some time in silence, and allow ourselves to connect to something bigger than ourselves. Hal goes into detail about the various ways that we can experience silence. I mentioned a few: meditation, prayer. You know, you can do a walking meditation. That would be without music, or I oftentimes listen to books on tape. So just being fully present. Years ago, I had taken a class, um, a naturalist class, and they talked about getting a sit spot. So you sit in the same spot every single day at the same time, and you observe what's happening around you. It's a form of meditation where you're deeply embedding yourself in nature. And I do that. I go outside every morning, have my coffee outside in the same spot, and I observe. You know, there's more bunnies than there have been in years past, and the weather is getting cooler already. And there's all kinds of things that you notice by sitting in that sit spot, but it expands and opens up the mind to possibilities of what else could be happening in your world for the coming day, coming week, coming months. For now, know that starting from that place is the first step in making your morning a miracle. That is that place of silence. How are you going to be able to embrace silence in the morning? Do you have to go sit in the closet to do it? Maybe some of us do, those that have kids. There's a quote by Albert Einstein: there are only 2 ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is though everything is a miracle. That's a beautiful thought, a beautiful sentiment. And we can actually see everything in our life as a miracle. We can see the beauty in it. So silence, that's the first one. That's of S.A.V.E.R.S, the first of the 6 steps that Hal has created. Silence. Second one is affirmations, using powerful statements. I'm going to take a sip of coffee because I'm talking too much. Using powerful statements to build yourself up to be confident and successful. You've probably heard people talk about affirmations all the time. And what affirmations simply do is they're feeding those positive thoughts, positive statements into the brain. You can also call it incantations. I went to a women's retreat some time ago, and the leader talked about walking outside in her neighborhood with her hands out, talking about incantations. She would chant different affirmations, and she called it an incantation because she was walking while she was doing it. So, starting by simply repeatedly telling yourself what you want to be, what you want to accomplish, and how you're going to accomplish it. What are you going to do? Who are you going to be in your world, and how are you going to be showing up in it? And then repeating that every day. I know in the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he has us writing down every day those goals, dreams, desires, things that we're looking to achieve in our life. So what we know from both of these methodologies is that it's the repetition that's important. We have to constantly be feeding our minds, conditioning our mind, conditioning the state of mind that we're in, because we are manifestation magnets. We can draw to us what it is that we're thinking about, what we have energy about, what we focus on. Tony Robbins talks about manifestation and coming up with a plan and repeating that. And he has a saying, it's called CANI, CANI, constant and never ending improvement, where you're constantly repeating and feeding your brain with information, thoughts, developing a belief system that's yours, not one that you got when you were 5 years old or from your parents or from your teachers, professors, other people. You decide what's true for you. You decide what your belief system is, and then you form the behaviors around that. We're adults, we get to choose. We get to create those affirmations, and we get to design them to help us establish the thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors that we want and need to succeed. So, how are you going to set up your affirmations? Start by writing them down. You could even put them on Post-it notes around the house until they start to become something that you know easily and effortlessly, that you remember and you can repeat to yourself first thing in the morning. If you have to write it down in order to remember it, start there. But definitely start. Whether it's just one affirmation or a list of 20, I don't care. What are you putting into your brain the first thing in the morning? And if you want more information on this, of course, I'm going to say this after every section, is get the book and listen to what Hal has to say and how he's put these things together. We really do need to program or reprogram our minds, and affirmations are a stellar way to help us do that. They're kind of like I used incantation, or mantra is another word. Mantra is just simply it means mind tool. It's a way to put into our mind the good information that we want our minds to be remembering, and stop all the noise and the chatter. Getting up and turning on the news is probably one of the worst things that you can do first thing in the morning, because you're feeding yourself with all that's going wrong in the world versus all that's going right or all that's going well in the world. So if you need to put on music that lifts you up, if you have a favorite book that you can listen to that lifts you up, like Think and Grow Rich or The Miracle Morning, find ways to feed your brain, imprint on your brain that good information, so that you set the tone for your mindset and your attitude as the day starts to unfold. I touched a little bit on visualization, um, also known as creative visualization. I pulled out an old book, 25 plus years old. It's called Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain. And I recently was giving a lot of books away as I was moving, and it was one that I had pulled out. And she walks us through a lot of different types of visualization. You can actually download it and listen to the audiobook from Libby, the Libby app, the library app. They do have creative visualization by Shakti Gawain on there. So if you're interested or curious about the process of creative visualization, it's a form of meditation, in my opinion, where you're just visualizing and focusing on what you see your future to look like. You know, it's kind of the practice of seeking to generate positive results in order to see or imagine what that future could look like. You're creating mental pictures, maybe even defining some specific behaviors that you might be taking or outcomes that you want to occur in your life, and you're visualizing those. It's often used with professional athletes. They will, I know Tony Robbins and many other coaches have worked with professional athletes to have them visualize the outcome of their sporting event, or visualize them standing on a podium and receiving a medal or an award or a ring, or whatever you might have. Like they see the end result of what it is that they want. And that's all creative visualization is. You know, Hal doesn't tell us just to visualize the outcomes we want. Those are nice, but it's also about focusing on what it is that we want, what is enough in our life. Like rehearsing how we feel, like getting it into our cells of what would that feel like for us to have achieved those goals, those outcomes. How would it change our life? Who would we be, and how would we be different if we were able to achieve and realize what that would be like? We're getting it into ourselves when we're, speaking the affirmations to ourselves, when we're visualizing and creating mental pictures of what that could look like. uh another term that comes to mind is imagineering. I live near Orlando, Florida. I have the last 3 years. And one of my favorite places has been Disney, to take my great nieces and nephews to Disney. And Imagineering was what Walt Disney did. It was his mental ability to see what he envisioned. And then they actually have Imagineers. Their staff of creative artists are called Imagineers because they imagine what the future could look like. And then they use these mental techniques to actually develop it, to visualize the rides out there, the activities, all of the things that they do. Walt Disney was a legendary dreamer, and he invented this concept of Imagineering. So it's really practicing sensory rich visions, like where you can see it, feel it. One of the things that I learned a long time ago through different workshops that I had gone through was if you wanted to see yourself driving a certain car, go to the dealership and sit in the car, feel the steering wheel, even maybe take it for a test drive if they would let you, but just to have that envelope around you, see it, have a picture of you taken in front of it, then take that picture and put it on the wall. So every time you see that picture, you can actually remember what it felt like to be in that car, to turn it on, to hear the engine roar, to actually drive around the block if they'll let you do it. Depending on the kind of car, they may or may not let you do that. But it's a sensory rich experience that you're trying to create through meditation, visualization, and affirmation. It's pulling all three of those together to achieve that emotion that'll allow you to attract it, for you to say, this is the line in the sand, and I'm going to go do this. I am not going to look back. I'm not turning away from this. It's something that I truly want, and I can make it happen. Okay, so that was let's see, silence, affirmation, V is visualization, E is the next one. E, exercise. Why do we want to exercise first thing in the morning? Because honestly, if I ever leave it to the end of the day, I don't get it done. That's the truth. For me, I like to get up. I prefer to have my water and go for a 30 or 40-minute exercise. I usually listen to something positive, uplifting, a book, and then I come back, shower, have my coffee, get to sit outside and enjoy the sun in my sit spot. That's kind of the order that I like to do it in. If I do not get up, put the shoes on, and get out there, even in my pajamas, just go do my exercise, my walking first thing in the morning, I would say, I dare say 90% of the time, I probably don't do it. If I don't do it first thing in the morning, I won't do it. I don't know where you come in on this, but how are you going to create engaging in morning physical activity? Creating that as a daily ritual for you. For some of us, maybe it's not walking. For me, I need to get outside and feel the sun on my face. It makes me feel alive when I can feel sunrises and sunsets. It's pretty much a daily habit. I need to see them both. But for some of you, it might just be getting up and doing some yoga or some simple stretching, or maybe you have a weight room in your own place and you can do, 20 minutes of resistance, or maybe you have resistance bands. I don't know what it is for you, but what physical activity can you start to incorporate into your morning routine? I don't care if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you pick. You're the adult, you get to decide. If your goal is to lose weight, 5 minutes isn't going to get you there. I can pretty much promise you that. But if you're just getting up to stretch and move and lubricate your joints, 5 or 10 minutes of stretching absolutely will get you there. So you decide, what is it, the goals? What is it that you're setting yourself up to succeed at throughout the day? And maybe this isn't the time when you do your weight loss or your fitness exercise. It's just the movement in the morning that wakes you up, that gets your brain thinking, and allows you to rock it before 8 o'clock. Maybe it's just some running in place, or some burpees, or some jumping jacks, or some yoga and stretching. You get to decide. But think about how would you incorporate that energizing, health enhancing movement or activity first thing in the morning? Why is this important? Because it improves self-confidence and emotional well-being. We produce endorphins when we exercise, and that's the happy hormones. And when we can do that, it sets the tone for the day. So we're feeding our brain, we're visualizing, we're feeding it with the affirmations, and then we're exercising to get the hormones moving, to get the body fluids moving and wake us up. It's nature's antidepressant if you can get up and start to move your body and boost your mood through physical activity. All right, next one is R. We have two left, R and S. R is reading. Yeah, I do like to read. I love doing Bible study in the morning to read, but more than that, I think that reading also needs to be for personal growth. So we have the spiritual growth side of it, and then we have the personal growth side of it. And the personal growth, you know, he suggests that we read, I think it's 10 pages a day. And by reading 10 pages a day, that could amount to, depending on the page length, of course, but it could amount to about 18 books per year just by reading 10 pages a day. Did you know that you can actually become an expert in something by simply reading 10 pages a day? Yeah, most successful people read and have some sort of a reading habit. Whether they read technical manuals to learn to get to do something better, whether they're reading about leadership or sales skills or business management, they read. People who are successful are readers. So if you're not reading, how can you start to bring this in? And we're not talking about reading an entire novel. We're talking about 10 pages, 10 to 15 minutes every day, and you can become an expert at something, or at least become more proficient at what it is that you're doing. 18 books, that's a lot of books, 10 pages at a time. I I'll be honest, I do my reading from Bible study. I like to read the Bible, but I do audiobooks, and I generally do about 2 audiobooks a month. I use the Libby app because it's free. I mean, if you're a person that has Audible and you want to buy the books, great, you could do that. Otherwise, I when people recommend books, I use Libby, and I go in and I put all the books that people recommend in there. And then every month I request holds on different ones. Sometimes you have to wait for them. So I think right now I have 7, 8 holds books on hold, meaning when they come up, I will be notified and I can grab them at that time. Otherwise, there are books that are available right now. And so I can grab those too. If I don't have one of the other books, I can grab some of my hold books. I have over 200 books on my list of books that I want to read. This week I just did, for the second or third time, I did Miracle Morning again. And then I did the 12 Laws of Leadership with John Maxwell. So that was this week. I try to plug in and have that feeding my brain rather than TV or other noise in the background. Of course, I have uplifting music that I play as well, especially in the morning. You know, after I get out of the shower, I love listening to music, dance a little bit while I'm getting ready. But I'm constantly feeding my brain with audiobooks. My 10 pages are generally Bible pages that I read. So it depends wherever you come in onto this, you know, maybe you can read your 10 pages and listen to your Bible verse or Bible in an app page, flip it around, move it around. I'm just throwing out some ideas based on what I learned from this book. And I encourage you, if this is something that excites you, take what I'm sharing and or go grab the book. You can also go to YouTube and look up Miracle Morning. There's plenty of videos on that. There's a great PDF by a guy named Brian Johnson, and I will actually include that here in the show notes. He gives a great summary. A lot of the information I'm sharing with you is from his notes that he's already summarized for me. So these are just some of the resources that are available if this is something you desire to shift or change in your world to create a miracle morning for you. Scribing is the last one. Scribing, aka writing in a journal, and whether that's a gratitude journal or a goals journal on what it is that you're looking to do. Scribing is a habit that involves writing down thoughts, plans, goals, dreams, desires, all of those kinds of things. It can help you process your thoughts. I know some people write down what they're feeling and reflect on that. It can also inspire you. And having those journals to go look back on when times are tough, when things are hard, you can go back and it changes and shifts your state immediately when you can open an old journal and start reading about some of the things that were going on. I have one friend from a Bible study group that I was in Florida. She has journaled every single day. I don't even know how many years, but she highlights her day's events every single day. She writes them down. And we were talking about, oh, when we were doing Bible study a year ago, when we were studying Galatians, and she went back and actually got her old journal and flipped back to that section when we were studying Galatians and had notes on it. And she could recall or share with us what we had learned. And what I thought, wow, I am totally not that dedicated. I'm lucky to journal more on a weekly basis. Sometimes it's even a monthly basis. I pulled out an old journal recently, and after going all up through this hospice stuff with my mom, I hadn't written in a journal in months and months and months. So I pulled it back out and was like, where did I leave off? And just picked it right back up where I was. But I encourage you, if this is a practice that you want to start, try to stay with it. Like I wish I would have journaled those days, those trying to make the best days ever with my mom, because I'm developing a memoir. Whether I publish it or not, I'm not sure, but I'm doing it more for me, my journey with my parents as they were journeying home to be with the Lord. And I'm trying to write a memoir about that experience. And there were big gaps in there that I didn't journal. And now looking back, I wish I would have had those notes of the positive, uplifting, joyful experiences that we got to have together. And some of the challenges, because the reason for the memoirs, I have two friends who have family members on hospice right now, and I see what they're going through. And if I had that memoir done, I could give it to them and perhaps be a source of encouragement on the journey that they're walking. So that's the intention behind it. But journaling would get me there. Journaling would also be something wonderful that you can leave for your kids. I know my dad had a few journals, and I found some of the things that my mom had written over the years. And it was so awesome to be able to go look through that stuff as I was going through. She was an avid reader, but she didn't write all that much. And when I found some of the things that she had written about childhood and, some vacations that we had done. It was like, wow, it was just like precious, so precious to hold on to. So I encourage you, even if it's just journaling a page, read your 10 pages, write your 1 page. There's there's a reason that Hal has published this book in so many different languages and it's become a huge success around the world, is because it matters and it's making a difference in people's lives. So go for it. Follow the S.A.V.E.R.S steps and see what it could look like for you a year from now, or even do it for 30 days and see what you notice. Perhaps you'll have a life-changing experience. These habits are when we use habits, they make life easier. We don't have to depend on our willpower. We know that we're going to sit in silence. We're going to drink our water in the morning. We're going to move our body for 20, 30 minutes. We're going to, have those positive affirmations, high five myself in the mirror, like Mel Robbins says, and say, I love you, or, Atomic Habits, just those behaviors from that book, Atomic Habits. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stick to it. And it becomes a habit for your life rather than just using your willpower to get you through the day. Will yourself to have the best day ever. When we put some of these small habits into place, whether it's the ones that you follow from Hal Elrod, or the ones that you follow from the book Atomic Habits. I can't remember who the author was on that one. I think it was John. What is it? Nope, it's not coming to me. Wherever you land, whatever place that you find yourself in, let it lead you. Let those habits create the day and the week and the month that you want to have, because your life matters. It's important. And you're setting an example for your kids and the people around you by having the best day ever, every day. So I hope that you glean something from this. The benefits of engaging in habits versus letting willpower will show up with ease and make things a whole lot less efforting. So again, I'll put the links in here for both the book and the PDF that I used as reference points for this, and I encourage you to check it out. See if it's something that you want to pursue. Of course, if you want to have a conversation with me, reach out. You can go to Lisa Mosby, and that's Lisa, MOSBEY.com, lisamosby.com. Book 30 minutes with me. I am a social media coach for entrepreneurs, especially people who are in the wellness field. We could certainly review your wellness social media, whatever you're doing for that. I have some easy, simple tools for you to use if you need to upgrade that or get it rolling. But if you want to talk about that miracle morning, I'm available for that too. Just again, pop over to that website and click book it. You can grab my calendar, get on my calendar and book 30 minutes with me. I'd be happy to talk about either one of those. Thank you so much for listening. I get excited about reading books, and I love to share my takeaways from them, and I hope it makes a difference in your life. So let me know if you do read the book, if you do make a change. You can certainly leave messages in the comments on the YouTube channel, or you can private message me directly on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the places. So good luck.